We're back. Hoosier Hero Podcast. It's been a little while. But here in the great state of Indiana, we had the girls' state tournament was 8 days ago. So today we're recording this on a Sunday. So it is March 6th. And yesterday the boys' tournament got underway, and the boys played for the sectional championship last night all across the state. How many sectionals are there, Colin?
There's 64.
64 sectionals.
In the state of Indiana.
So we thought we'd dedicate this entire podcast. We don't know how long it's going to go, but we're going to dedicate this entire podcast to the sectional.
Yep.
Okay, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
He's shooting the technicals. Looky here. Hunter in the corner. Ivy for the win. From the corner. Luke Zeller at midcourt. Looks it off past the bunker.
So, the sectional in Indiana. All right, so let me explain this for those of you. This is going to be kind of for people who may not be from Indiana, okay? So how this works, I'm going to start how it used to work, okay, in the state of Indiana. State of Indiana used to be one class, okay? One class basketball, one winner take all. Like
Yes.
It might have been the last state in the union to go to a class basketball system, which they went to in 1997, 98 would have been the first year. Okay. So Hoosiers used to take, and still do obviously, take pride in basketball, but used to take a huge pride in the one winner take all tournament format, which is just incredible to think about. Okay.
Yeah.
Even like today, there's over 400 high schools in Indiana. Okay. But back 50 years ago, again, before not only class basketball, but before something like school consolidation,
Yeah.
which was like all the little schools coming into one.
Yep.
So, it could be 4 or 5 high schools combined to make one. Progress. This was like really boomed in the late 50s and early 60s. So, talking a long time ago now. Okay. And so, consolidation, that kind of put a little damper on things. But before consolidation, I know that at one point, this is true, there was over 800 high schools competing for one trophy.
I like that.
That's unbelievable. That's insane.
That's exciting.
That's insane. Like, you guys, like, maybe, like, again, if you're not from Indiana, but maybe you can think about like March Madness or Division I basketball. Okay, in the NCAA, there's over I believe 300 teams in Division I. Okay, and obviously they're fighting to try to get an NCAA tournament bid.
Yep.
Right, but even when it does happen, how many people make the tournament? Is it at 68?
68, right?
68, yeah. And then the first 4 play, and then it comes down to 64 teams. Like, no, back in the day, we had 700 plus teams. For many years in Indiana, we're competing for one trophy.
Could you imagine Carmel playing some?
Yeah, no, it's
Washington Township or something
for the state championship.
People would just be going nuts. I mean, I would love to see it.
Yeah, like give so much opportunity. So
everyone has a chance.
Yeah, everybody has a chance. And then, like, I know. So maybe you know a little bit. So we talked about Colin's dad. Was my coach my senior year. He was college coach at Westville. He coached down at La Crosse. He coached, he coached the LaPorte girls team and was really successful with LaPorte. Had some really great players. LaVille boys. Yep. So, Colin's dad moved to Arizona a few years back.
Yeah, 2020,
and he teaches and coaches at a pretty big school, right?
Yeah. It's like. It would be probably like a 3A.
3A
I think
school?
it'd be like a 3A
so like
school equivalent.
1,000 kids or so?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the biggest, but...
Yeah, gotcha. And that's where at in Arizona?
That is in Apache Junction, Arizona. It's called Poston Butte.
Poston Butte.
Yep.
Okay. So explain.
And it's a newer school.
It's a newer, like, yeah,
like,
isn't it like a
15, 20 years old.
Okay,
Like,
gotcha. Explain if you can, or at least kind of roughly, how the state tournament works, because not everybody gets to play for a state championship or has the opportunity like in Indiana.
Yeah. My understanding, it's still weird for an Indiana guy to try to understand what these are, it's foreign language to me, but you have to win your conference pretty much, or be a top seed in your conference to then go to this thing called the districts.
Okay.
Which it sounds to me something similar to sectionals, but it's a lot less. Not everyone gets to go.
Not everyone gets the chance.
So you already are, you've already been picked. It's already been slimmed down just by the conferences. So then they put you in the districts.
Okay.
And then you win the district, which this year my dad's, I think they went the farthest they ever had in school history.
Yeah, gotcha.
This year in the districts.
Gotcha. Where would they play their, do you know where they play the state championship? If they...
No, I don't.
You don't?
No.
Maybe, I wonder if they play it like...
It's got to be at the Suns.
Where the
Phoenix
Suns
Suns.
play. Yeah, the Valley. Yeah. Gotcha. I have
Valley.
been. I don't know what that's called.
They should, at least.
Yeah. I've been past it. But I know, like, in Michigan, high schools play at the Breslin Center.
Yeah.
For Michigan State.
Yep. I had some buddies from Olivet College that played
there?
at the state championship.
That's
Breslin.
awesome. That's cool. So, again, to put that in perspective, in Indiana, everyone, no matter your record, you could be 0 and there were some teams this year that were 0-22 going into the sectional.
Yeah.
And they did have a chance to. And what was really crazy, what are the odds? I don't know. But Lowell High School, so this is Northwest Indiana. Lowell High School was 0-22, and they just happened, apparently blindly out of a hat, they drew Chesterton. And Chesterton is the number 1 team in the state, and they won their sectional last night, and they're I think should be 26-0, 25-0. I don't have it right on me.
Yeah.
So it was insane how just happened, record speaking, one of the worst teams in the state, unfortunately, and they drew in the first round of the sectional. They drew Chesterton. So sectionals in Indiana are like, especially for a small school. So I'm going to go back to the 800 plus teams. Okay, one winner take all tournament back before 1997. Okay, in LaPorte County, where we're from. Okay, for the most of the part, for the beginning of the state tournament for the first couple decades, it was at LaPorte. It was at the Civic Auditorium in LaPorte, and then Michigan City Elston built an even bigger gym at Elston and hosted the sectional for ever and ever and ever. And at one point, Michigan City Elston, okay, there were 14 teams competing for a sectional, and my grandpa went to Elston, graduated in 1959. So this is like the heyday of basketball in Indiana. The sectional was so crazy, and there were so many teams in each sectional because there was, again, 700 plus teams fighting for one trophy, that my grandpa would be in class and they would have to play during the week. They would have to play the sectional games. So Union Mills, all these little schools, Union Mills, Mill Creek, Kingsbury, Union Township, all these little schools here in LaPorte County would come up to Elston while my grandpa's in class, and you'd be hearing people going crazy. It was daytime. You had the windows in the gym.
That's a serious distraction.
Yeah,
right there.
yeah. So, and of course, like, if Elston drew like a morning game, nobody went to class. Everybody went to the game. Like, there was no class.
Athletics were more important than academics.
Basketball was definitely more important.
It's
than
Indiana.
Academics. Yes.
Yeah.
100%. So, like I said, at one point, 13 or 14 teams played in the Elston sectional for like through the heyday of Indiana basketball. Okay, through the 40s, 50s, and then through the 60s, and then Michigan City Rogers was built, which is I'm gonna go all over the place, but Rogers is 7th biggest gym in the country, at Michigan City, and that's I can go into that and we'll talk about that later. Maybe not today, but so there was a time in 1950. Okay, again, Elston being the big school, Michigan City Elston, and LaPorte being the other big school, dominated the sectional. The little schools never had a chance, right? So in 1950, Union Mills knocks off Elston, wins the sectional championship, and then the following year, Rolling Prairie wins it. I get so like a little school won it in 50, and then another little school, Rolling Prairie, won it in 51.
Yeah.
And then after that, guess how many years Elston went in a row? Like LaPorte couldn't knock him off. How many sectionals in a row do you think Elston won? LaPorte ended up being the team to knock him off, but guess how many years Elston won it in a row?
4?
Not even close. Just keep going. Way up.
10?
Keep going.
Are you kidding?
Yeah, I know.
No.
In a row. Nobody could. LaPorte, no little school could
Man,
knock him off after 1951.
I'm coming from a school that never
Yeah.
won one.
Yeah.
So it's hard to think.
25 in a row. Elston won 25 sectional championships in a row. And then in 1976,
It's domination.
Durham's dad, Big Jim, knocked him off at LaPorte. LaPorte knocked him off, and I believe that was at Michigan City Rogers. So, that would be our sectional around here for many, many, many years, like decades and decades, obviously way before us. Okay. So in 1961, my one grandpa went to Elston, and my other grandpa went to a little town or a little school called Union Township. And this is my book that I wrote. Okay.
Yeah.
I wrote a book, everybody, but if you want to check it out, it's called Those Were the Days, the story of a small town, a wild coach in Indiana basketball. You can get it on eBay. I think is one. I used to have it on Amazon, but maybe we'll have another podcast about that. But that I wrote about that particular year in 1961, that the boys from Union Township were 24-0. They were a tiny school, 100 kids, 24-0 going into the sectional championship against Elston. Okay, they were tied for the winningest record in the state.
Yep.
Next to Madison. Okay, who had Larry Humes, who would later be Mr. Basketball. So when you opened up the Indianapolis Star newspaper,
Yep.
you had all these big schools, and then at the top of the leaderboard was little tiny Union Township out of LaPorte County. Well, they ended up taking on number 6 Michigan City Elston and of course, like I said, Elston won 25 in a row, and in 1961 was one of them, and they knocked Union Township right out of the tournament. But later in 1998, we go to class basketball. Okay, we go to class basketball, and the sectional, which is again the opening round of the state tournament.
Class
okay?
basketball is a very touchy subject for
Yes.
Indiana basketball
Yeah.
fans.
Like,
some
even
like
for-
it, some don't.
Yeah.
Most don't.
Yeah, I don't. I went to a small school, and the idea was classes were supposed to help the small school win a state championship or make it easier to win a sectional. I rather knock off the big school and say I did it. And even if it was so, I'm gonna try to explain this, and I'll throw a little bracket up there, okay, in the film right now. Okay, so sectionals way back in the day before class basketball, you typically had to win 3 or 4 games, depending if you got maybe a bye. You had to win 3 or 4 games to win the sectional and to advance to the next round of the state tournament. Okay, now it's usually 3 games. Maybe if you get a bye, it's only 2 games you have to win, but that's because of class basketball and also less schools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when I say that. When I went to the sectionals this past week, the team that I was following, which was our high school, okay, they had to play 3 games because they ended up winning and kept advancing to the sectional championship, and it was 3 games. So the idea was with class basketball is that it was supposed to help the little school, things like that. All right, but what do you?
Well, I think the basketball season is a long season, and a lot can happen. Kids can get suspended. Things can happen in their family, and I think it's even. I like how in Indiana everyone gets to go to the sectional.
Yeah.
Because things can happen in the season. A guy could be hurt, torn ACL, and come back, and their record doesn't mean that they don't deserve a spot.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of just one single class just because of the upsets and everything like that. But
there's a lot of, I said Cinderella story, things like that. So for the small school, like I've kind of described how the big schools dominate and always have dominated. Winning a sectional at a small school is like winning a state championship.
Yeah.
So I said that I went and watched our high school compete this past weekend and try to win a sectional championship. I've heard people are saying 99 years. Okay, I'm pretty sure it's 100 years this year, was 100 years, and our high school, which competed in that Elston sectional for all them years, and then later would compete against Rogers, LaPorte, like never could get out of that sectional and go to a different sectional. They were playing like state-ranked teams at huge schools every year. Okay, and you're talking our school had like at that time maybe like 180 kids or something. Crap, forgot what I was going to say.
Well, I'll say it is 100 years because on ET Pro here,
it's 100 years.
The first team was 1921-22.
Yeah, so I was right. So it's 100 years, and they have yet to win a sectional title. Okay, I talked about in the first podcast that we played for a sectional title. Again, this was in class basketball, of course, and we got thumped. And the team that we played against later went to the state championship
and won.
And no, they got runners up. They lost. It was like a year or two before that. It was like 3 years before that. It was like 09 or something. They won it. And so and then 11, or it was 08 they won it, and then 11 or something like that. They went, and then in 13 I think they went back. Yeah, it was just insane. This team was these couple years were just awesome. So our high school still is yet to win a sectional championship. My brother and I went to all 3 games. So Westville won the first game against a really good Boone Grove team. Okay. The next game they beat Hebron, which is where your dad went to high school.
Yep.
And then last night they played North Jetson, and North Jetson coming into the game. Again, winning their 2 games in the sectional, that made them. They were 20-5, I think. So they had a pretty decent record. And if you've never been to the North Jetson gym, it's large because it has to hold a lot of people for the sectional.
Yep.
And I believe it holds about 3,500. And it was awesome to see. I have not, and I'm going to get into it in a little bit. It was awesome to see, especially in the sectional championship last night, like a crowd. I mean, I've been to Mackey Arena several times this year, and I get it. Like Purdue basketball, 14,000 people, but nothing compares to paying $6 and going to watch a high school basketball, a sectional championship in the state of Indiana.
They're back.
Dude, it was
and maybe a $2 hot dog.
Dude, they had build your own hot dog. They had it all out. It was
to do a concession stand review.
Yes.
Bring the vlog camera.
Yes.
Break it down for you folks.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was but yeah, I have not been so just, I can't describe it. So my brother, again, he filmed all 3 nights, and I'm going to montage it together. It'll actually be kind of long. Probably be like 20, 25-minute vlog at least. And it was the atmosphere. I couldn't even, I don't know that you could necessarily even put a price on it, just like what it was like. So we'll get to that in a second. Right now, I'm going to take a little break on the camera. I'm having to run around today because my brother's not here.
Thanks, Luke.
He's normally our cameraman, but he's not here today.
Someone was more important than us.
Yeah, I don't know who it was, but so when I was in high school, what is that? What year is that?
That's 08 and 09.
08, 09.
Financial.
That would have been my freshman year, I think, if I graduated in 12. And I remember this happening. I remember a coach talking about it. About an hour south of here. So this is last podcast we talked about Phil Wills. So this is like in the very same area. Okay. Caston High School ended up. How many games did they lose in a row to start the season? 10, something like that. I think they lost like their first. They lost like their first 10 or something, and then they got 1 win in the regular season, and then lost the rest. So going into their sectional, they were 1-19. And again, this is not any other state, nothing like that, to where you gotta like make a district or whatever.
Yep.
Nope. You get an opportunity to try to win a state championship, no matter your record. And they were 1-19 going in their sectional. Read those off. Who did they play first in the sectional? They drew. Who'd they draw?
They drew South Newton.
They drew South Newton
47-50.
And they won by 3.
Then Tri-County. And then they won it with
what was the Tri-County score?
Tri-County was 33-34.
They won by a point.
We call that a barn burner.
That's a barn burner in Indiana, yes.
A point. And then played Pioneer and won by a point again.
So what was the score?
46-47.
46-47. So they win the sectional by a total of 5 points. So they won 3 games by a total of 5 points, and they won their sectional going into with a 1-19 record. That's unheard of. That doesn't happen. I think there was one other team that I read out of Southern Indiana in like the early 90s. I'll have to look it up. That won their sectional with only 1 win. So I think Caston was only the other, and that was much closer to us. It's like maybe like a 45-minute drive or something. And they won their sectional, and then they played Bowman Academy. Bowman Academy's out of Gary. And that was when they were just on a roll too. Bowman was. What was the score of that game in the regional?
Actually, surprisingly, am I reading that right? It was 28-55.
28-55. Yeah.
Yep.
I do believe that Caston team did have a kid that like scored over 1,000 points, but maybe he was about the only kid on that team. Did he score 1,000? Look him up. See what he got.
So yeah, it was Wes Wig. Well, that's hard to say.
Yeah.
Wes Rigney.
Yeah,
6'4" senior had 1,088 points. So
when so the next year he would be a senior.
Yeah,
after that sectional,
he was a junior.
So his junior year he won that sectional. So and then I think there was a kid that ended up like he was hurt during the year or for half the year or something, and then he came into the sectional, and I know it helped obviously, okay, but I don't know that he was necessarily the difference. It was just a matter of things rolling the right way, obviously, and they end up winning their sectional.
The oddest thing about this, just looking at this roster,
yeah,
Wes was the only guy in his class that was playing. He had no other juniors.
So he was the only junior.
So that was
year.
It's all freshmen, sophomores. There's 2 seniors.
Yeah,
I mean, what a young.
Yeah.
So
sure.
That's what I like about this team. Got time to develop. I mean, we got a whole bunch of young kids that are probably playing when they should. I mean, in a normal time,
they
weren't ready
playing,
to be.
Yeah, in other schools they wouldn't be playing.
Yeah. So I think they just got a chance to grow as a team, and
during the season,
they were able to have that opportunity to play in sectionals and not have to win their conference. They would have never made it there in a million years.
Got to advance.
So I think that's cool. Yep. I like how we do it.
Do it in Indiana.
No complaints there.
Yep. So I'm gonna backtrack, and we'll probably end it after this one. Okay. So when I went down to the sectional, okay, this was the North. Again, there are sectionals in all the classes: 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A. 1A is the smallest schools, and then obviously it gradually increases up to 4A, and those are the largest schools in the state. I don't know if this is ever going to happen. You know, people run their mouths and say they're going to make a 5th class for some really huge schools. Okay, I don't know if that'll.
They have done it in football.
They've done it in football, yeah.
So,
so I went down to, again, sectionals are everywhere, depending on what class you're in. But I went down to North Judson sectional. It's where Westville played, and that game. Again, coming into it, I think Westville had like 16 wins coming into the sectional championship. North Judson got their 20th win, and you guys will see in the little montage or vlog. But that game, not only we talked about atmosphere, but the game itself was just awesome. North Judson came out first quarter, was winning the game 15-8, and then like a flip of a switch, Westville ended up going on a huge run, and then they end up taking the lead. Okay, and then I don't know what the run was. It was probably like a 12-2 run or something. They really just put it on, and the game from then on just seesawed back and forth and back and forth. Kid from North Judson, I mean, I can't. He's a kid. I'm not gonna dog the. He banked in a 3 at the buzzer going into halftime. Banked it in. It was like, you know.
What day was that?
This was yesterday. Yeah,
Banks open on Saturday.
Yeah,
so.
Saturday nights in Stark County, Indiana. It was open. So they ended up going into halftime, but Westville came right back out, and it was just. I mean, you guys, it was just. I haven't been in that kind of atmosphere in a while, and what ended up happening is that North Judson would end up taking the lead by 3 towards the end of the game. And Westville comes down, and I mean the opportunities were just there and there. My junior year when we played for sectional championship, no, there was no honestly there was no opportunity to win that game against Triton. It was just the door was just wide open for our high school to win their first sectional. And this kid from Westville ends up Julian Ellis ends up throwing up this shot at the buzzer, like leans into this kid, chucks up this three, and makes it. Sends the game. I mean, you could not have another stage to do this. This is when they show up and they play. Like, this kid hits this three. Oh man, it was just awesome. North Judson won in overtime by 3 points. A kid was fouled on a 3-point shot with about 20 seconds to go, and he made all 3 free throws. Westville couldn't come down and hit a shot. I'm so sorry, people. I'm going to be editing this thing. My recording software is just, my computer's being a computer. Okay, let's just say that. All right, I was talking. I think I'm at the point where Westville ended up losing. A kid shot 3 free throws, and because he was fouled at the 3-point line, about 20 seconds left, Westville comes down, calls a timeout, 7 seconds left. The point guard for Westville is, I believe, Gavin Hannon is just a sophomore. He had a chance to just pop, like, top of the key, like 3 feet off the 3-point line to tie the game, and he didn't. He passed, and it just didn't work out. But saying this is that there is, and obviously in other places people do this. I'm sure other states people do this. But you're not, I don't think in other states you are joined in with 3,000 people at watching teenage boys play basketball, and we stood for the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, did not sit down in between the overtime and the fourth quarter. We didn't sit down. We didn't sit down for any coaches' timeouts in the end of the fourth quarter and in the overtime, and we stood the entire overtime. It was just shoulder to shoulder.
Down in the front.
Yeah, no, it was just a blast. Like, I have not been part of that in a very long time. So again, I said it with all the COVID stuff and for the past couple of years and things like that. But if you are, I don't know, if you have nothing to do with your life and you're a sports junkie and you got a bunch of money, or you like basketball and you're from some other state, just come to Indiana a couple weekends.
Yeah.
The weekends of the state, so the sectional, the regional, the semi-state, and the state. Those are all different weekends throughout March, and you will not be disappointed showing up to some small, sleepy little town. That's what I'm going to call it. North Judson is a sleepy little town.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
But man, basketball, though, it was a blast.
Yep.
So,
and then, hey, come see us at the state championship.
Yeah.
We'll be there. We got to get our plans set up for that.
Yeah. So, thanks you guys. We're going to rattle on about that. Hopefully I can get this all edited in correctly because, man, I've had a lot of fits with the computer so far today. But hopefully it will be a little informative for you guys. So,
thanks for watching.
Yep.
Do it for Dale.
Do it for Dale.